Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Wendy Myers. Welcome to the Myers Detox podcast. And today we have Dr. Marc Arazi on the show. He is a researcher that has written a book called Phonegate: What the Telecommunications Industry Doesn't Want You to Know. And so he's going to be talking about what he found in his research. He'll be talking about, what the cell phone industry is hiding from you, how they kind of fudge their research results to make cell phones seem safer than they are, and some other shocking details about how they put spyware on people's phones to change the what looks like the thermal effects of the phone, when they knew the government was testing the phones for in the public area. He also talks about the dangers of cell phones, the increase in brain cancers over the last few years, and how there's a dramatic increase in deaths from brain cancers called glioblastoma. And he also talks about really kind of what's going on, like what are the issues with fertility, the issues with the increase in electro-hypersensitivity that makes some people so ill that they're not able to work, they're not able to function. And he also talks about some of the simple steps that you can take to make your cell phone safe. Like, these are very, very easy things to do. So stay tuned to the end to get those tips. So I know you guys listening to this show are, you're concerned about your health. You're concerned about detoxing your body in many, many different ways. And I have really been focused in the last few years on emotional detoxification, because a lot of people are out there looking for physical solutions to their physical health issues, or even, emotional, psychological issues. And I think what people don't realize is that emotional trauma affects almost everyone. And the research is clear that we have an increase in depression, an increase in cancers, in lung disease, an increase in so many different health issues, an increase in smoking, addiction rates, alcoholism, with the more adverse childhood experiences that people have. And they don't have to have this horrible trauma. It can just be neglect that cause them to have emotional trauma that leads to physical health issues. And it's really shocking. So I created this free masterclass that talks so much about what is emotional trauma, what are the 5 keys to understanding emotional trauma, and also there's a test that you can take to determine your number at adverse childhood experiences and what you can do about it. Nonetheless, there's very, very simple solutions that can go a long way to help resolving your health. Because I assure you, emotional traumas you have experienced are affecting you today, even if you're not aware of it, affecting your health and affecting your peace of mind. So go take this free masterclass at emo-detox.com, emo-detox.com. You will not regret that investment of your time. So our guest today, Dr. Marc Arazi, he is a medical doctor, and in July 2016, he launched an alert about the overexposure of our mobile phones, which has since been referred to as the Phonegate health and industrial scandal. And for the last 15 years as a doctor, he's been particularly concerned by health issues related to mobile telephones. So he has founded and shared since March 2018 Phonegate Alert, with the aim of informing, protecting, and defending the hundreds of millions of mobile phone users with the support of international organizations, scientists, health professionals, lawyers, and journalists. And in November 2020, he published the book Phonegate, which retraces his years of investigation. And since June 2022, the English version is now available on Amazon. Dr. Arazi, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Wendy, to invite me.
Yes, I was so excited to learn about your book. I learned about it from a colleague. And, I wanted to have you come on to talk about the dangers of EMF, or electromagnetic fields, in particular, the ones coming from cell phones. So can you talk about a little bit about your background and why you came to write the book Phonegate?
Yeah, sure. I'm a French doctor. I'm a French physician, and it's something like 20 years now that I'm working on this health issue. And in 2016, I launched the alert, whose name is the Phonegate scandal, industrial scandal. When we are going to talk about that. And in 2018, with many people all over the world, I co-founded the NGO Phonegate Alert. And now, with this NGO, with people all around the world, and we have a very important scientific advisory committee with many famous people. We are launching the alert all over the world.
Okay, great. And so why did you start researching about the dangers of cell phone? Like, what started this?
At the just to understand, cell phone, people has to understand that cell phone is the most important exposure for human. Most of the people, sometimes they think that it's the Wi-Fi or it's the antenna, and they don't appreciate really that the cell phone they use all day and they give to the children and or for all the family is the first level of exposure for humans. So it's very important to understand that we have to be very aware about the exposure of our cell phone. First thing. Also, most of the time, people say there is no scientific evidence about the health risk of the cell phone. And it's completely the contrary, because we have now, since 50 years, we knew that there is a scientific consensus about the thermal health effects of the cell phone exposure. It's very important to understand that, because when you say, no, it's not proven, it's the contrary. What is not proven is that the non-thermal effect of the cell phone is already not completely clear, okay? But when you say like this, oh, there is no evidence, it's not the truth.
So when you say the thermal effects, you mean holding the cell phone up to your head and it heating up the tissue where the cell phone is placed. Can you talk about why that's a problem?
Yeah, when the cell phone is near the body, not only because when you say you do that, you put your hand near your head, but it's the same if you put it in the pocket. It's very important to understand that it's for all the body, not just for when you are giving a phone call. Very important. The waves of the cell phone put energy. They put some energy on your body, like microwaves. It's like your microwaves oven. You say, okay. So it's exactly the same, because your body and your cells, there is water in it. And when you put the cell phone, it's like you boil the water in your cells.
And what effect is that having? So what are you seeing with people that are, holding their phone up to their head for, a few minutes, and then the short-term effects and then the long-term effects, or having it in your bra or in your pocket?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that, Wendy. But before, you have to understand that to protect, because there is a regulation also in Australia too, and what they have done, we are using all over the world an indicator with name SAR. I don't know if you know what is SAR, specific absorption rate. Will measure the quantity of energy that your cell phone is exposed to you with the thermal effects. Okay, so the first thing to understand in this scandal that it is a very, very bad indicator. Okay, so why we are knowing that now? Because of, in France, there is some test was been done by the French government. It was in 2020, in 2012. And they make cell phone tests because they were afraid about the way we are using our cell phone next to the body, next to the head. And they make hundreds of tests, not as we make as the regulation forced the manufacturer to do, but derogatory tests at 0 millimeter of the head or 5 millimeters. And they keep all those cell phone tests made by our national telecom agency. It was from the French government, and they keep it secret for 4 years, okay, until 2016. And in 2016, our national French health agency make a special report on the cell phone, and they put a few links, a few information about what was going on. And it was the beginning of the Phonegate scandal, because all we have done is to force the French government to release all those data who show that we have all been overexposed since the beginning of this industry.
And so in all of your research, what is some of the most shocking things that you've learned?
The most shocking thing is that nobody is aware about that, If you make the test like was done in France, it was at the distance of 15 to 25 millimeters of the body. Okay, so nobody knew that the test was the cell phone was tested like that. If people see that we tested at 1525 and after at 5 and 0, it's something like 10 or 15 times more than the level you don't have to go over. So the level it's 2 watts by kilo. In Australia, it's the same. And what we find, it was a level like 7, 10, 20, more than 20 watt by kilo for the cell phone testing at the distance, at a real distance of use at 0 or 5 millimeters.
Yeah, and so they're publishing information based on usage of the cell phone that's not realistic in real life. Like people are not holding their cell phone 15 or to 25 millimeters from their head. Yeah. Like that's not happening.
Yeah, and nobody knew that there was the SAR is the regulation, and you have rules, and all the manufacturer knew very well that this distance was absolutely not real. But what they prefer is to have a good connectivity. I want to reach Wendy. Wendy want to reach Marc. It's the most important, and our health, it was not really important, And it's incredible to see that the industry use a very, very bad indicator, use many tricks to deceive all the consumer using cell phone, And now we have legal proof to say that, because we force the French government to release. We have something like more than 700 test reports now in France, and what we are doing. And we make this all over the world, and now we just force the Canadian government to do the same. And we had now something like 100 test reports. And what we see in Canada, for example, that today they are always testing the cell phone, something at 10 or 25 millimeters of the head, today. And now, because the scandal is very, we have done a lot of things, and we are talking about that, about what was going on in France. But at this moment in Canada, we obtain it takes 2 years to obtain those data because it's a very important battle all the time. And what we are going to do is to do the same in Australia now and for all Oceania. And we are working with an organization that you know, whose name is ORSA. And we hope that in a few months or less, we will obtain all the data in Australia for all the Australian people, because there is it's an international scandal, and all the people and in Australia you never heard before your interview about what's going on with the Phonegate scandal. It's the first time.
Yeah, I mean, this is happening around the world with telecommunications companies, as they are, they have a lot of effort to keep this information out of the newspapers. Like, there's a lot of public relations that's done to keep this information, this deceit, this false, to publish the false research and to hide the real research. So what's going on there?
Yeah, you're completely right. So, first of all, and I write this in the book, one of the strategy of this industry is to be the owner of the big media. In France, more than something like 50% of all the TV channel or the most important media are owned by the telecom industry. So we have a real problem because they are engaged in a scandal, in a health scandal, but they have also the level, very important power with the press, the media power. That's a real problem. And it's not only for France, it's the same all over the world. But what I can tell of my experience, and I write all we have done to make the scandal be revealed, or that we have very courageous journalists and very courageous people all over the world. So in 2019, I give this example. I've been reached by a journalist, an American journalist, in 2018, at the beginning of 2018. His name is Sam Rowe, and I didn't know who was Sam Rowe, journalist of the Chicago Tribune. But Sam Rowe is a Pulitzer Prize, 4-time finalist of the Pulitzer Prize. And we have worked together to make the scandal revealed in the US. And there was a very important investigation made by Sam. It makes a lot of noise in the US and in Canada. And after that, there was the first class action launched by the lawyers in Canada and in the US, for example. So it's not so evident, They are very, very strong. They are giant, and we are very small. But we have also many force because we have very courageous and clever people who are working with us.
Yeah. And so let's talk about some of the short-term, the long-term effects of cell phone usage. And this is information you're not seeing in the newspapers. This is information not being admitted to by the cell phone companies. What's really happening when we're using our cell phones and holding them to our head?
There is also, I don't know if it is the same in Australia. Most of the time when you say, can you have head cancer. Most of the people say no, there is no risk about that, and what we have is the data of our French National Public Agency, and they was released in 2019. Okay, so it's very recent data, and what they show that during the 30 years, and these 30 years was the most important for what we are talking, because in this period of 30 years, there was a lot of cell phone was being sold all over the world. So what we see that there was a fourfold increase of the glioblastoma with a very, very bad cancer. And for information, it is like something that 50,000 people who died in the last 20 years just in France, and just for glioblastoma, not for all the head cancer. So you imagine that when you say that there is no increase, it's a lie, you know. And the first thing you have to understand that there is a real increase, and we can say that with the data from France, and we see that for all the country. That's for the cancer, the head cancer. Also, there is a very important problem for young people, because you know that all the young people, maybe you have a child and what they are doing all the time, they take the phone, they take care now not to put it in near the head, and but what they are doing, they put the cell phone in the pant pocket. It's it's a reflex. You don't know what to do. You put the cell phone in the pant pocket,
or it's on their lap. The iPad's on their lap all day long.
So the problem now that we see, and we have many studies about the result of this, the way we are using our cell phone, is that there is a problem with the fertility for women and for men, you know, and it's so evident, you know, because you know that there is heat with the cell phone. There is thermal effect, and if you put it near a place where it's very dangerous that there is thermal effect, we can really easily imagine that we are doing bad use in putting a cell phone like this at this place. So it's the second important risk for people, for Australian people, but also for all the people in the world. And the third risk, and
can you hold on 1 second there? I want to talk more about the fertility issues.
Yeah, sure.
So this is a huge problem. You know, 1 in 4 couples are having fertility issues in the United States alone. It's huge numbers. And, you know, a lot of people, especially men, are putting their cell phone in their pocket. And when the scrotum is at a certain temperature, you know, it's like 2-3 degrees lower than your body temperature. When you start heating that up, you kill sperm, you reduce the motility or their movement. Not to mention, you know, women, I don't know offhand the exact effects it's happening on women, but, you know, there's bound to be issues anywhere you're heating up tissue on a regular basis with a cell phone.
That's correct. Yeah. And yesterday I was publishing, not me, I was sharing a new study from China, and what they say, it's very interesting, because they have tested, they are studying the way, because the people, they are using headset, they give a phone call, but they put the cell phone in the pocket. Okay, so they have seen that there was a danger for the fertility with this use of the cell phone, and they put an advertisement to the people to say, oh, take care about that. We need more study, but don't use a cell phone when you have it in your pocket with the headset to give a phone call.
Yeah, and women are also putting the cell phone in their bra. And there's reports of like the cancers being the exact shape, the tumor.
That's terrible.
Of the cell phone.
You're completely right. That's something came from United States where the young woman, and now we have this in France, and we see most of the people that they need to keep it all the time very closely to the body. So we will talk about that, but it's so easy, to protect the health of people. And I know that it's most important thing for your action in Australia. So what you can say to all the people, and we'll repeat and repeat: don't keep your cell phone near your body, not on your bra, not in your pant pocket, not near your head when you are giving a phone call. And it costs nothing. We are very lucky in this health scandal because it's costs nothing. It's free. You change your habits and you will be protected. And so it's why it's so important to explain that not to way that all the scientific, like for climate, say, oh, there is a problem. To say to protect yourself, but also your family.
Yeah, and I think the biggest concern is people like myself that grew up in the 90s, and I had, as soon as that cell phone came out, I had one, and I was holding it to my phone or holding it to my head. I mean, for how long? 30 years. And so I think that's sadly, this information about the dangers of cell phone has been hidden. It's been prevented from being reported about. And I think people pay for that with their lives. They pay for that with their health and dealing with brain cancers and fertility issues and many, many other health issues. I mean, it's much, yeah.
Don't worry. I was exactly like you before. I began to try to understand what was going on this issue. And for years I had the cell phone near my head or near my body. So what I say that industry we have to answer about what they have done, and it's why I launched the alert, and I make such legal action everywhere now in the world. And I wrote a book that for all the people to be informed, because if you take some time to read, all the people will say, wow, it's crazy. Just talk about France, because people in Australia, now you are very, very late, because now when I will explain you what we obtain in France, you would say, oh, it's incredible. So in France at this moment, with the legal action we have done, we forced the French government and the manufacturer, and they had to withdraw or update something like 34 different models of cell phone since 2018. Now they make legal tests, and they have to withdraw all the cell phone from the market, or to put how to say, an update,
like a warning, an update, or a warning label.
Yeah, an update or software in the cell phone to be sure. Okay. So
wow. So your legal action got most of the cell phones in France recalled prior to sale.
Not all the cell phone,
but
because it was 34 for the moment. Before that, there was no one in the world that have been withdrawn or updated. So for the first time, we we obtained that there is something against this industry, and it was very important. And also what we have obtained in 2019, because our pressure on the French government, they asked our national health agency to make a special report, which is a Phonegate report. And the question of our government was to say what to do with the cell phone, with the SAR, who were much higher than the level, the legal level. And the answer of our national agency, and you can read the report, is to say that to withdraw or update all the cell phones were sold or put in the market before June 2017. And then to put all the cell phones, not some models, all the cell phones. And after that, it was the report, the French report was released in October 2019, and there was the COVID. And it was a lack for this industry, incredible. And it was the way, because the French government say that they will make a meeting with all the manufacturers in France, and they didn't. And at this moment, they do not put out all the cell phone from the French market. And but we have this asking for our national French agency.
And yeah, it's really, really shocking. Is the amount of money that the telecommunications companies make and the amount of power that they wield really controls all this information. And it's just, I really admire your work in trying to get this information, the what's really going on, the dangers of cell phones out to the public, because the status quo right now is that cell phones are perfectly safe. They don't cause cancer. They don't cause, it's just like deny. And that's what's in all of the media and the newspapers. So people have like peace of mind when, to a certain degree, when they're using it. I think a lot of people, they don't think about it because they don't know that there's something to worry about because they haven't been warned.
Thanks, Wendy, for the compliment. But it's a battle with a lot of people around me. So it's the compliment for all the team. Because you can't do this without all the help, and that's what I write in the book. I explain how I was alone at the beginning, and now we are talking with people all over the world every day. So it's I'm very lucky to have all those support from everywhere. So what is important also to understand that there was a lack of regulation, but they don't. It was not enough for them because it was a good opportunity for all the manufacturers, but there is concurrence between maybe Apple and Samsung or Huawei and Xiaomi and. What they've done, because they wanted to sell the more cell phone, what they've done, like Dieselgate, you understand what is Dieselgate, the Volkswagen scandal?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exactly the same. What they've done, they because they need to have the best SAR, the lower SAR. What they've done, they have put spyware inside, or algorithm inside the cell phone, and the cell phone at this moment can say, "Oh, there is a test from the French National Telecom Agency," And at this moment, what they do, they put the SAR that the manufacturer want to put in the notice, But it's not the real SAR, because it was so awful to see that there is so bad regulation, but it was not enough just for profit and just for to be the best seller of cell phone. What they've done is to try also to deceive all the user about the real sound. And we know that because now we have people, and I name X in the book. We have people now who are working inside the industry, who are so shocked about the way all this is going on. They help us to make all this evidence understand by the public. And you know that my book is now was released at the end of 2020, and no one said, nothing to say that all we are talking about is wrong. Everything. The book is in English. The book was in French, and no one said, "Oh, what say Dr. Arazi? It's bullshit," because they know that everything we are writing in this book is exactly the right information.
So your book is called Phonegate. So where can people get it? Where can people buy it?
So in France, when I was very lucky because I had a publisher whose name is Masso Edition, and when you read the book, you say, "Oh, I want absolutely to publish." But with the COVID, and we had a lot of problem to find an English publisher. So maybe maybe someone is hearing us and would like to read the book and help us. But the best way now is to order it on Amazon. And you can use it, you can order it very easily because Amazon, you can sell it all over the world. And there is also the ebook.
Okay, fantastic. That's easy enough. And so we know the problem, it causes fertility issues, brain cancers, glioblastoma. Any other health issues that we should be concerned about?
A very important one, and it was the one I would like to talk before. It's electro-hypersensitivity. People who have a feeling completely different when they are using a cell phone or when they are in contact with Wi-Fi or the waves of an antenna. And we are not equal in the way we are supporting the waves of the radio frequency. And what we know, because we have a special report in France about electro-hypersensitivity, and I suppose that you will be afraid about this number. We have 3 million people in France who are touched by electro-hypersensitivity. 3 million people. So you imagine for all the planet is something like 300 million people would be concerned by this symptoms. So we have to be, nobody can say, "Oh no, there is no problem." We have a lot of people now who are suffering, and there is people who are suffering very. Not so much because they have headaches or some troubles, but there is people who are suffering so much they can't live anymore, they can't work anymore, and so it's not 3 million people like this, but there is now 3 million people who are directly suffering about from the radio frequency waves. And I think that and we are working with many scientists on this issue. What we think that that with the Phonegate, and that now we knew that there was a overexposure from our cell phone, the wave of our cell phone. And we think that it could be a contributor of maybe 1 and maybe there is other, but we are working on this issue to study if this overexposure could explain that some people now are suffering from rashes.
Yeah, and so the electrohypersensitivity, a lot of symptoms of that can be easily confused with other health issues, where it's very difficult for doctors to figure out what's wrong with these people and put them on medications they don't need. And there's no mention of maybe it's your cell phone, maybe it's your computer. What are some of the symptoms of electrohypersensitivity?
Yeah, and maybe 20 years ago, but maybe I don't know what is the position in Australia, but in France, 20 years ago, when people begin to talk about that, they say, "Oh, they are mad, they are crazy," you know. It's not a medical problem; it's a psychological problem, you know. And now in France, no more. We're not talking anymore about a psychological problem. They try, but it's really difficult. And we have the work of I don't know if you know Professor Belpom in Australia, but Professor Belpom has made a lot of work on this issue, and now he just released a study and an article who explained that there is biological explanation and biological proof about this pathology. So we are knowing more and more because we need study, you know. If you don't study nothing, and if you put all the information, like you say, and full study too, because there is a lot of study who are conducted by industry, by people who are working for industry. So it's really difficult for the scientists to work on this issue, but they are working. And we have more and more evidence about the risk, and also for people who are suffering from electrohypersensitivity.
Yeah, and so are they getting like headaches, fatigue, insomnia? Like, what are some of the symptoms, like depression, anxiety?
And this is for people who are not too much suffering, you know. But there is people that they can't stay in a place where there is waves, and they can't. So they have to go in the mountain. Very there is antenna everywhere, and there is waves everywhere now. But and this is a problem. But it's not just like this for those people. It's something that they are so. It's so difficult. The life is so difficult that maybe sometimes they make depression or suicide. Yeah.
And so, how can we protect ourselves? So we know there's a big problem with the cell phones. What do we do? What do we do with our cell phones? Are there any devices we can use to protect ourselves? What's your advice?
As I tell, we are very lucky because all we can do is free. You know, first of all, you put your cell phone every time out of your body. You know, if you work, you put it on your table. When you come home, you put it somewhere near you, not in a pocket or in your hand. So. It's the way you can use it when you want to give a phone call, for example. You most of the time you can use the earphone, you know. So the loudspeaker. Loudspeaker. You know, you all the cell phone now has the function loudspeaker. Also, I see that you are using headset because all the time, sometimes there is people around you and you don't want that what you say is going to be listened by others. So you can use headset. But the best headset you can use is with what we name air tube. Headset with hair inside. Like this, you are really protected. But as I say, you're not going to give a phone call with the cell phone in the pocket on the headset like this. So you put the cell phone on the table and you use a headset. For young people and not young people, and it's a recommendation from the California Health Department from 2017, where they say when you are listening music or watching a series or a film, you not to use headset because you have waves who are coming to the head. So you can put it in fly mode, for example. But the best is not using headset when you are using your cell phone for more than a few minutes, and it's recommendation from 2017 from California Health Department. So it's official. And what they say too, it's not to keep the cell phone near the body. And who is reading the recommendation, So also for pregnant people, pregnant women, to be very, very careful not to put the cell phone near the body. Also with people who are using pacemaker. And for people who are using pacemaker, they have to be especially careful not to put the cell phone in a pocket near the heart. And also they need a very important distance, something like, I don't know if you are using centimeters, but something like 40 or 50 centimeters, very important one. For all the other use, you can put it at 5 or 10 centimeter. It's great. So with all this use, you will be perfectly protected. You don't have to put something on your cell phone. It doesn't. It costs something, and there is no proof that there is better protection.
Okay, great. Yeah. So the good measure is keep, distance is key. Like the farther away you have the cell phone, the better. Turn it off or airplane mode when it's, if you don't need to actually be using it. You don't need to get a message every 5 seconds. You don't need to see every message right when it comes up,
That's another problem with addiction. There is another problem is the addiction to the screen. But yes, there is an expression in US, the distance with your cell phone is your best friend,
Yeah. And also people need to, using the air tubes, excellent recommendation. And then people also need to just be mindful and as limit screen time with your children. You need to, the kids, they don't have that knowledge about the harms of EMF. Their brains are a lot more sensitive. They're growing, you've got to limit screen time with your children.
The problem, for parents that they have to give the example. That's if you say to the children not to do something and you are doing what you say that not to do to the children, it's crazy, The children will say, "Oh, you see that you are eating and you are on your cell phone on your computer." So it's for all the people to be for parents, most of the parents to have to understand that we have to change something. There is a problem of addiction of screen. That's a real problem. And we have also a problem about the exposure or the overexposure of the waves of our cell phone. And both, it's like a bomb, because more you are staying on your screen, more you are having waves, and the cocktail is a very bad cocktail for health.
Dr. Arazi, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, if you want to get Dr. Arazi's book, Phonegate, go get that on Amazon.com. So thanks for coming on the show. Is there anything you wanted to cover that we haven't discussed yet, or any kind of thoughts about the book?
No, just thank you. That's like I said, the first time that we are invited to talk in Australia, and I suppose that with ORSA and the other Australian organization, we are going to have maybe other time to discuss. But really, thank you from France, from Paris, and we are very very far. But I suppose that I hope that we have the next time the possibility to reach and to see you in Australia.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us on the Myers Detox podcast. I'm Dr. Wendy Myers, and every week it's just really my joy to bring you experts from around the world to help you, meet your goals with your health and help give you little pieces of information that helps you, feel your best, because you deserve to feel good. So thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next week.
The Myers Detox Podcast is created and hosted by Wendy Myers. This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Wendy Myers and the producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.